That legislation gives us hope that we will someday soon be equal.
Wait a minute. Kylie Minogue is from Australia.
I know, you would think.
I say, what the devil is all the fuss about? I don't get it. What's in there? Bing bong! Hello!
1976, when I made this public, I went and knocked on the neighbours' doors in rural Tasmania, and they were fantastic about it.
This is your weekly LGBTIQ community radio show.
And I am here today because I am gay, and I'm tired of hiding.
The Hobart City Council apologises for prohibiting the gay law reform stall at Salamanca Market in 1988.
Did you know that dolphins are just gay sharks?
I was sure from at the age of about 4 or 5, I should be a girl. I'm not supposed to be a boy, wanting to play girls' games and play with the girls at school.
The boys wanna be her, the girls wanna be her, the boys wanna be her, the girls wanna be her, the boys wanna be her, the girls wanna be her, the boys wanna be her.
I wanna be her.
Yes, I do.
On Edge Radio 99.3 FM.
Be kind to one another.
Good morning. You are listening to Bent Air on Edge Radio 99.3 FM. I'm Matt from TASPRIDE, which is the Tasmanian Council of AIDS, Hepatitis and Related Diseases, and he is...
Andy from Working It Out, which is Tasmania's LGBTI Education and Support Service.
How are you doing, Andy, on this lovely, glorious day, Thursday before Mardi Gras? Excited?
Yeah, well, I'm excited because I'm going to be at Mardi Gras.
I'm depressed because I'm not going to Mardi Gras.
The weather's going to be good, the entertainment's going to be fun, it's going to be good food.
I went last year and had the time of my life, so what's your plan?
You see, now this is where it falls apart.
No plan is a good plan.
Basically, no plan. We're going to watch a group of us, ragtag group of people, and this goes to show the diversity, I guess, are going to come together and just incidentally, and we're going to go watch the parade and then decide where we're going to party.
Okay. Well, make sure that you look out on behalf of all of us with the Tasmanian float, because I think it's the first time in 8 years or so, and those guys, including Tracy, which is why she's not here today, are going to be dancing their butts off all the way up that street.
What's the theme?
You have to take photos and bring back and report it next week.
I'll put it on Facebook.
Excellent.
So follow us on Bent Air Radio on Facebook.
Sounds like a good idea. We've got a busy show with lots of things to talk about, lots of great songs, which have been chosen by Tracy again, which we're very grateful for. Thank you, Tracy. But let's hit off with Ostra Home. Ostra is a Canadian electronic music band from Toronto, formed in 2009, and the band consists of Katie Stelmanis and her former Galaxy bandmate Maya Posteski and former Spiral Band bassist Dorian Wolf. They played a number of early shows under the name Private Life before learning that another band was already using that name. They subsequently named the band after Stelmanis' middle name Ostra, which is also the name of the goddess of light in Latvian mythology.
You know, what also would be really good is if anyone's interested in the songs that we play, we actually post a link to the songs on our Facebook page. So really go to facebook.com/BentAirRadio. And if you want to hear any of this music or create your own music list, totally grab it. It's all queer artists or it's queer themed, and it's totally awesome. So
And Tracy's heritage is great video clips, so it's a whole nother level. Oh, that was a little bit lovely. That was Ostra playing Home.
Oh, I could go home.
In the mood? I feel at home here in the studio. What about you?
Yeah, occasionally.
Yeah.
No coffee, though.
Right now? No coffee. Oh, yeah. I know. We'll take that up with management.
Though, I mean, at home, I like to watch movies. Listen to this attempt of a segue. And it's just Oscar season just recently. There's quite a few LGBTI themed films up for Oscars. Is there any in the history of Oscar films, any LGBTI kind of themed or actor or anything that you are a fan of?
Themes. I think my memories, I think I've enjoyed a lot over the years. My memory, all I can see is I saw Carol recently and I just loved it. I wanted to see it again and it made me want to come out as a lesbian, quite frankly.
So I'm guessing Carol is about a lesbian. That's the film. What's it about?
Oh, look, it's set before the war, and it's just a lovely love story between two ladies, completely off the grid, and a little bit about the complexities of being gay in that time. Yeah, I won't give it away in case you haven't seen it, but you really should go and see it.
I haven't seen it. I think it's still at the cinema, so I might need to whip out that free ticket I've got.
Yeah. It's a beautiful movie. Yeah. So what have you been following on Oscars?
Well, basically, there was a bit of controversy. So Sam Smith, a singer, courted controversy at the Oscars when he said in his acceptance speech that he may have been the first out LGBTI person, and after saying that, has received criticism from other performers, from others regarding that he's forgotten other outperformers who have won, such as Lance Dustin Black, who's the director / writer, the writer of Milk, and Elton John, who everyone all knows. He doesn't need an introduction.
Well, what a shockingly terrible thing he did to misquote the past and have absolutely no idea what he's talking about, right?
I know, horrifying. At this point, I'm kind of like, who cares? And he even says, like, in his speech, if you watch it, because I was like, oh, wow, that's a bit, you could at least recognise others. But he actually says, I don't know if this is true or not. Yes. But I've read by Ian McKellen an article saying that nobody who's been out has won. So even if I am the first or not the first, I want to dedicate this to the LGBTI community, a marginalised group, and put a spotlight on it, which I think is fantastic.
Right. So he already qualified his statement.
Yeah. But people like controversy. I think it's an interesting comment about sometimes in society people are very quick to cut down others for perceived fault or flaw. And I think that's actually a fault that kind of occurs more often in today's social media world.
I mean, it does happen, doesn't it? There seem to be these little pockets of vitriol that just need to escape every now and then. We see that as well with the gay marriage debate from the ACL. Maybe sometimes you just got to let them spit it out and move on.
Yeah, like let them say what they want and ignore it. It's really kind of the easiest thing. But it's it's a bit of a shame. I think it's a bit of a you're on your keyboard, you can type it out. You're not actually saying it to someone's face, so you just don't think it actually hurts. But you actually are. These are words that actually impact on someone, and I think that's kind of for someone's mental health or well-being. I think it's actually quite important to just be considerate of others. Especially when their attempt is actually well-meaning. Like, there was nothing nasty behind his intent.
Yeah, but people can hide behind the walls of the internet and no one can know how terrible the character really is. Oh, stop. I do have an off button. I'll push it right there. Do you want to hear a song?
Do it.
This is Courtney Barnett. Nobody really cares if you don't go to the party. That's how I feel about not going to Mardi Gras. I'm very sad.
I was going to say that. It sounds like you're just trying to pretend.
Anyway, Barnett was born in Pittwater and grew up in Sydney's Northern Beaches. When she was 16, her family moved to Hobart. There you go. She attended St Michael's Collegiate School and Tasmanian School of Art. Barnett is openly lesbian and has lived in Melbourne with her partner, Jen Clower, since 2011. Song Numbers was co-written by Barnett and Clower about their relationship. Barnett's song Pickles from the Jar also details their relationship. But this is Nobody Really Cares If You Don't Go to the Party. Oh, look, I'm going to have my own party.
Okay, you do that. Watch TV, SBS. There's Magna Savansky, or whatever her name is. There we go, thank you. And some two other cool people whose names I forget.
Okay, I'll have a look. You are listening to Bent Air on Edge Radio 99.3 FM, and I'm Matt from TASCard, and he's Andy from Working It Out.
Correct.
And Andy, you've got some news to tell us about.
Yes. Every week we talk about politics, and it's always about an LGBTI kind of flavour to it. So we've got some good news and some bad news. It's good news in a way. So the Liberals' first out and elected MP gives his first speech in Parliament.
That's exciting. What's his name?
His name's Trent Zimmerman. He's of the North Sydney electorate, and he highlighted in his speech it's the first time an openly gay man or woman has entered the House of Representatives. Just to put a little star on that, I do know Green's Bob Brown has been in Parliament much longer, but he's in the Senate, so it doesn't count.
Okay, cool. And so what was his speech about?
So I guess he highlighted that while Australia has made great strides, discrimination remains and not many and too many are prepared to peddle prejudice in the community. And actually what I'll do is I think I'll read out his speech because I actually think it's really great.
Oh, lovely.
And, it's really good to see an MP, regardless of Labor or Liberal or whatever party politics are going on at the moment, stand up for this sort of thing. So he said, our laws still deny access to marriage, our society's ultimate expression of love and commitment. Young gay men and women are more likely to suffer depression and other mental health issues. They are more likely to be bullied at school, more are likely to attempt to take their own lives, and tragically, some will succeed. Coming out remains hard for many people, and believe me, I know what that's like, Trent Zimmerman said. And while people feel the need to suppress their identity, they will live in a life of fear and trepidation. They are denied the opportunity to love and be loved. to be full and flourishing member of our community, to simply be themselves. We will not have reached the end of the journey until no person feels compelled to live a life that is not their own. Until we recognise that a person's sexuality is not a choice or a preference, it is as innate as the colour of their skin. We should regard intolerance in the same way modern Australia regards discrimination based on sex or race. No more and no less. But I hope that my electorate to this place will, in a small way, send a message of hope that your sexuality should not be and need not be a barrier, that you can be gay and even a member of Australian Parliament. And that was, once again, North Sydney's MP Trent Zimmerman. And I thought it was really, really good to say that in Parliament.
And it kind of rings true. It's a bit inspiring, isn't it? I'd like to be me, that maybe I can be in the studio, that I can in the safety of my own home, but I know that once I hit the streets, all of, the walls come up and I start behaving accurately and appropriate. Make sure I don't behave too gay so that no one knows how I'm sick of that.
And it's such a fascinating conversation, that because there's a term for it. It's like minority stress. It's this constant anxiety about something that's going to happen, particularly in marginalised groups. So this fear that something's going to happen on the street, and it gets justified because looking at it's been stated quite a lot. But for LGBTI teens, 80% of bullying happens at schools for them, and I think up to 20% experience actual physical abuse in the school setting. So it can be quite scary, and it's not about your sexuality or gender, but it's about this discrimination and stigma and the treatment and prejudice from others that is what makes it hard.
We've always got to fight it, don't we?
Yeah, but there's something kind of nice about holding your partner's hand walking down the street.
I want to do that now. Okay, got to get a partner.
So in other news,
yes.
So on the other side of the fence, Labor Senator Joe Pollock has quit politics and cited his party's support for marriage equality as the reason. So I said good news, bad news, but really it's actually good news that he left.
Good news. Yeah, go. Be gone. We don't want to see you anymore.
It's interesting. So, he's elected to represent his electorate and his members and stuff. Polls show 75% of Labor voters support marriage equality. Latest polls are saying 76% of Australians support marriage equality. The debate's done. People just support equality.
Does it make him shallow?
I don't know. I guess, it's an interesting debate. I guess you're entitled to your opinions, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And if you can't back up your opinion with your facts, then is it actually on solid ground?
And what about representing the people?
Yeah. I mean, that's what you're there to. You're a democracy there to represent your people. But I mean, in that sense, so the the cliche, prejudiced and privileged old white straight man has been replaced by Indigenous leader Pat Dodson, who has already stated his support for marriage equality, which is a good indicator for general support of LGBTI rights.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's great news. Good news and good news disguised in some other ways, but just good news all around.
Cake in a cake.
Sounds great. Let's play a song, shall we?
Do it.
This is Love Won't Save You, which is a bit unfortunate after the great news just came out, but maybe Love Won't Save You, but maybe what will save you is being the real you.
Yeah.
As well as you can. Anyway, this is by Crayon Fields. They've always contrasted their structured, detailed pop arrangements with an impressive, irrational approach to romance. But this aspect has only become more pronounced as their musicianship develops, and singer O'Connor becomes all the more willing to exploit every reflection on love, positive or negative, for the sake of entertainment. You are listening to Bent Air on Edge Radio 99.3 FM, Tasmania's only LGBTIQ.
Sometimes a P.
What? P? Radio station. What do we talk about on this radio show, Andy?
We talk about all things LGBTI or queer friendly or themed. It can be anything from, I come from a mental health background, so sometimes we talk about, I guess, resilience or well-being in that regard. So sometimes we like to talk about fun stuff.
We do, like sexual health.
Sexual health or sci-fi. So probably don't get me onto the sci-fi stuff.
Gay movies.
There's
a lot of gay games. Music as well. At the moment, we're just reminding everybody that it's Mardi Gras weekend, which is absolutely fabulous. This beautiful day predicts a great weekend, I think, for you guys in Sydney. So jealous.
A time of celebrations and to celebrate the diversity or the, same but different.
Tell me what you know about Mardi Gras.
So I do know that it started in 78. There's actually a whole group of people called the 78ers who are the first people who protested down the streets. So people usually associate the gay and lesbian Mardi Gras as quite a celebration, but it was actually a political, social protest in its early heydays. And I guess it was kind of the the founders of, that kind of push for how much easier life is now in the 2010s.
We're very lucky that it happened, despite its tragic onset.
And I think that's the thing, is you can get beautiful things out of tragedy, and the standing up for LGBTI rights is a perfect example of that happening in 78 to now. And what's really cool about that is, so they get called the 78ers, and the New South Wales government just formally apologised or are apologising to the 78ers for how they were treated, which is great news.
And they have a float on the parade every year. Who else has been on the parade over the years?
Well, I mean, there's always the great. I'll name some political groups. Like Australian Marriage Equality's on there. There's also Amnesty International walks every year. PFLAG walks. There's celebrities. I am a bit of a mad fiend for Kylie Minogue. Yes, I'm a stereotype.
Okay, that's fine.
But I think she's performed twice there. So it was about 5 years ago. She came for the 25th anniversary, and I saw her live. I was probably 200 metres away. It was incredible. I had a blast.
Did you? I wasn't expecting you to tell me that you're blasting over Kylie Minogue, but anyway.
A little bit. I think, you have to relish the stereotype sometimes.
Like, I did feel like that about Kate Blanchett in that movie the other day, so I kind of know what you mean.
Kate Blanchett is pretty amazing, though.
And Conchita, of course, this year.
Yes, and Conchita's going to announce I think that's happening today, who the performer will be, the Australian performer for Eurovision.
Oh, okay. I didn't realise that. Yeah, we need this news. Do you think it's going to be Guy Sebastian again?
Surely not.
I hope not. Oh, I mean, doesn't matter.
Maybe it's Kate Blanchett.
It's Kate Blanchett.
Or it could be one of the queer artists that we've played on this radio.
That'd be exciting.
That would be exciting. But Conchita has commented about how Australia seems like a... I think the word was gay paradise to others outside the world, but the experience of coming here is sometimes a bit differently because nobody quite realises that we're behind on marriage equality and other legislation. But we lead the world in other areas. We've got a pretty strong anti-discrimination act. So.
Yeah, I also know quite a few people personally who've come here from overseas or whatever, and just and say you guys are so lucky. And I think sometimes it doesn't take much of a look outside of how lucky we really are.
Yeah, so true.
What was that about Facebook?
Oh, yeah. About Facebook was, once again, Facebook showing its support for LGBTI rights by launching a marriage equality rainbow frame that you can put to your profile photo that shows your support for marriage equality. Once again, perfectly timed for the Mardi Gras.
Is that why they did it?
They did. They worked in conjunction with Australian Marriage Equality to do this, and it's to launch it's the first international cause-related frame, and what you do is you can kind of set your profile for as long as you want, and so mine's set for 7 days.
Right, for the term. Okay, that's good.
But it's great. I'm kind of seeing everyone's getting a whole lot of likes for their switch of support. Once again, showing Australians just support LGBTI causes.
Just can't get enough of that.
No.
Speaking of which, let's play this song by Depeche Mode, Just Can't Get Enough.
Good segue.
Don't tell them it was a good segue. That's supposed to be natural feeling. It was released in September 1981 as the third single from their debut album, Speak and Spell. The single reached number 8 on the UK singles chart and number 26 on the US Hot Dance Club Play chart, making it the highest charting single at time both counts. It also became the band's first and biggest hit in Australia, reaching number 4. The song has a bubbly feel that stands in contrast to the brooding feel of most later Depeche Mode songs. Here it is, Just Can't Get Enough.
Made in Melbourne, for Australia and the world, this is the Joy 94.9 GLBTIQ News Roundup, a weekly update of what's been happening in the gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans and intersex communities.
Hello and welcome to QNN. I'm Adam Samuel.
And I'm Alistair Kingston. The New South Wales Government has formally apologised to the participants of Sydney's first gay and lesbian Mardi Gras. In a statement made with bipartisan support, Liberal MP Bruce Notley-Smith apologised not only on behalf of Parliament, but also for himself as an out gay man, saying the actions of the 70 activists and their supporters on that night in June 1978 had been vindicated.
A preview this week of what the No campaign in the proposed plebiscite on same-sex marriage could look like. Prepared and funded by former Tasmanian Liberal MP Chris Miles, a series of pamphlets, which have not yet been distributed, seek to sow doubts about the social impact of legalising same-sex marriage, arguing children may be abused and neglected. Australian Marriage Equality's Rodney Croom says it's just the start of the anti-gay misinformation campaign that millions of Australians will have to endure if the government proceeds with the plebiscite.
The Federal Coalition's first openly gay MP, Dean Smith, has called on his colleagues to show more support and empathy for young people in the heated debate about the Safe Schools anti-bullying program. Meantime, the Foundation for Young Australians, which coordinates the Safe School program, has rejected suggestions it taught inappropriate material, saying the inaccurate claims are disturbing and deeply hurtful to the young people the program works to support.
Indonesia's LGBT community are struggling to make sense of a sudden rise in anti-gay sentiment. In recent weeks, a former government minister has called for homosexuals to be killed, a leading psychiatric organisation has labelled transgenderism a mental disorder, and protests in Yogyakarta included signs claiming LGBT is a disease. It's not known what's prompted the wave of homophobia, but one of Indonesia's LGBT support groups say its members are on high alert and fearful of violence.
Hollywood and social media were set abuzz after singer Sam Smith appeared to claim in his Oscars acceptance speech that he was the first openly gay man to win one.
I read an article a few months ago by Sir Ian McKellen, and he said that no openly gay man had ever won an Oscar. I want to dedicate this to the LGBT community all around the world.
However, McKellen actually said no openly gay man had won the Best Actor award. Previous out winners include Elton John, Alan Ball, Bill Condon, as well as Dustin Lance Black, who threw a bit of shade, tweeting if Smith doesn't know who he is, perhaps he should stop texting his fiancée, diver Tom Daley. It wasn't the only controversy of Oscar night, with the decision not to allow all nominated Best Song Singers to perform raising a few eyebrows, including those of transgender nominee Anomi.
And briefly now, Star Wars The Force Awakens director J.J. Abrams says he could see a future for a gay character in the series.
And now with this week's QNN Sport, here's Tanya Lewis.
Two of the oldest LGBT rugby union teams played off this week to celebrate their history in gay sport. The London King's Cross Steelers took on the Manchester Village Spartans to celebrate the 20th anniversary of their inclusion in LGBT rugby. In Australia, the Noosa Dolphins also clashed with the Brisbane Hustlers as part of a Sunshine Coast Pride event. Premier League soccer club Chelsea has launched a new gay supporters network for fans. The club says it will assist long-time supporters like Ed Connell in setting up the framework alongside the Gay Football Supporters Network. Chelsea joins the Queen's Park Rangers and Manchester United, who recently launched historic partnerships with LGBT clubs London Titans FC and Stonewall FC. British diver Tom Daley has qualified for two events at this summer's Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. Daley and partner Daniel Goodfellow won bronze in the 10-metre synchronised event at the Diving World Cup in Rio this week, while Daley also qualified for the 10-metre platform event in August. And finally, swimmer Ian Thorpe has revealed that when he came out in 2014, he felt pushed and wasn't ready. Thorpe outed himself to British TV host Sir Michael Parkinson, but told the Daily Telegraph he wasn't 100% sure about his sexuality when he did. Now that he's content within himself, Thorpe is working on a new 3-part ABC program called The Bully Project, which looks at the issue of bullying in Queensland schools.
Thanks, Tanya, and that's what's making LGBT headlines for another week. I'm Adam Samuel.
And I'm Alistair Kingston.
Thanks to the team at QNN. That was the Joy 94.9 GLBTIQ News Roundup. To hear this update again, you can subscribe to the QNN podcast, available at joy.org.au/QNN. Or you can follow QNN on Twitter, @QNN Australia. @QNN Australia.
So you're listening to Bantera on Edge Radio 99.3 FM. We talk about all things LGBTI, and what would be amiss if we didn't talk about Q&A? Yeah. So this week was pretty much a safe school / marriage equality session where they had people like Dr. Karen Phelps, somebody from Roy Morgan, and Australian Christian Lobby's Lyle Shelton, and a couple of others who I forget, but they were really good.
Really good?
Yeah. Well, they were good. Lyle Shelton, not really.
What did you think?
It's just a shame. It's kind of like what the debates come down to is those prepared to use facts and those who are not prepared to do so. The facts were that there was the type of facts that occurred were, Karen Phelps was highlighting the argument that marriage equality and things like raising kids are two totally different things.
Totally different things.
At the end of the day, Australians can already, in a lot of states, can already adopt kids regardless if you're married or not. You can already have kids if you're married or not. It actually has no bearing on whether you have kids. They're two different debates. The Marriage Act does not. This is what ex-politician, retiring Anna Burke was saying, that the Marriage Act doesn't actually state anything about kids. But for a lot of couples, of course, the reason why marriage is so important is it's a good structure in the sense that for some that it solidifies them together, and not to discount it, but at the end of the day, you can have kids in and outside of a marriage.
In and outside of a marriage, and we have ancient models of child rearing that involved much far-reaching members of the community, aunties and neighbours, and once upon a time you could have said about children that they had 20 parents.
Yeah.
But
it's a bit of a myth about the kind of like the Australian Marriage Act is from the inception of Australia, because John Howard actually changed the Marriage Act in 2004 or 2003 to state that it's between a man and woman. Before then, it didn't even say it. I always say that my parents are older than the actual Marriage Act in existence of Australia.
Yeah, about Q&A on Monday night. I mean, this is just my opinion, and it might be a bit harsh. I don't mean to upset people who are religious. You can be religious all you like, but you've got to be careful that your religious cogitations don't obfuscate your arguments, because we saw that child rearing is a topic all in itself, and it happens by individuals, it happens in couples, it happens in communities. Loving, how you love somebody, doesn't have to happen inside of marriage. We love our families, we love our friends, and we love our lovers. The point is to draw from all these unrelated arguments and put them together and say, therefore, two men can't marry each other because it has to do with the ability to bear a child, to raise a child, etc., etc. They've got nothing to do with each other.
No, and it insults the couples who don't want kids, can't have kids.
It does.
I think with the sensitivity to the argument, and if you're reaching from outside sources to justify your pre-existing stance, then you're not actually looking at the argument in a logistical kind of way.
Yeah, it was very frustrating to watch.
But it was really good at the end. There was that older man who I think he said he was 60, and he said, "Look, I'm Christian, and why is the ACL speaking for me and saying that this is how Christians view?" But whereas himself as a Christian supports LGBTI rights and believes that love and acceptance and that sort of thing is the key tenets of Christianity. And a lot of people state that. I mean, there's a reason why a majority of Christians actually support marriage equality.
That's true. That was a very sweet ending to a very difficult debate, because Lyle got to say, "Oh, well, actually, I don't represent all Christians."
Yeah.
He probably didn't reference how much money there was behind his group. But it's a small voice in a big sea. It's a bit of ugly airtime. But, we talked about getting the vitriol out before, so maybe it's better out and loose and gone rather than sitting and festering.
Yeah. I find it interesting how they spend a lot of airtime talking about that how they don't get airtime to talk about their views. It's
wasting your time.
A bit of irony in that.
Yeah. Oh, did you see after that interview with a drag queen from the UK, I think... what was it called?
Panty Bliss?
Panty Bliss or Panty... something. Yeah, Panty Bliss anyway. It was just great. The part that I saw was just reminding us, and we talked about it before earlier on the show today, that it's a travesty that gay people should fear being too gay in public.
Yeah, and what does that mean? I always find it interesting when someone tells me that... I'm how gay I am because it's something I do, and I'm like, I actually don't think that has anything to do with it. How I talk or my interests actually have no bearing about whether I'm gay or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the reason why I was really got hooked on this little interview was because I think I have had a lifetime. I mentioned it before as well. Behind the safety of my own walls, in the sacred company of my own friends, I be who I want to be, and nobody disrespects me for it. But I'm very aware in public. Not to talk out in my expressive voice, not to flap my arms around, not to mince about, but to be straight acting.
Oh, but that's exactly what I mean. People kind of develop these things to it's like a protective mechanism. But at the end of the day, why does flapping your arms about mean you're gay? It's interesting how society puts these values, and I actually think it ends up coming down about topics of misogyny or feminism or fear of things that are feminine. But it's such a complex conversation. I don't think we need to do on radio right now.
Yeah. In fact, let's have a music break, shall we? Why don't we have a listen to "Take Me Home" by Perfume Genius? Here it is. You're listening to Bent Air on Edge Radio 99.3 FM, and that was the song Take Me Home by Perfume Genius. Will you take me home, Andy?
Okay. Oh, wait, but you've got the car.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So can you take me home?
Yeah, I probably can, actually. I just had to mention as well that before we heard the QNN news from our colleagues at Joy FM 94.9 FM. So it's always great that they're to help us out.
And they always do a fantastic professional job of putting that all together.
Yeah, and sometimes we're surprised that we're on the same page as them. But, you know, we're pretty good. We're across a lot of pages. What's happening in the local pages?
Well, on the weekend there was the TASPRIDE barbecue. The weather was a bit wet, which was a bit of a shame, but that doesn't stop the spirit and the music from playing.
I couldn't go, unfortunately, but I did look out the window and thought, oh, those poor guys, it's raining. So did people still turn up?
Yeah, there's still a good number, probably about 70, which I think is a great turnout in Tassie. And it was such a good atmosphere. There was barbecue going, the smell of sausages, crankskins, vegetarian food for people who are vegetarians. There was a dog show. So everyone brought their dogs, and this was absolutely adorable border collie running around with a stick who wanted everyone to know that it had a stick, but I don't think it really wanted anyone to throw it. And I tried too hard to pat it. It just went, yeah, you're trying too hard. I'm not going to go near you. So, sometimes you can try too hard to, don't look too desperate.
So did Working It Out have a stall?
Working It Out had a stall. We got to highlight the Mind Out project, safe school stuff, and just various services we provide. TASCard put some information out as well. They had their man-to-man booklet there.
Oh, great. Yeah, man-to-man's been out on the streets now for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think it's a guy at a beach, dark hair, very pretty.
Yeah,
you can't miss it. And Headspace had a little Wheel of Awareness activity there, giving out prizes to people who played it.
And what did they have to do?
So you span a wheel, and then they asked kind of LGBTI themed questions, and it was kind of just an opportunity to have a chat.
Oh, right.
It was really pleasant. They also had chill out zones, so there was beanbags, and because it rained and they had coverage, everyone was jumping into the beanbags.
That's great. Did anybody take any photos? Might be able to see some somewhere.
There'd be somewhere.
Yeah.
We'll locate some. We'll put it up on Facebook if we can.
Sounds good.
What else is happening in Tassie? Anything happening from a TASCard's perspective?
Yeah, look, there's quite a few campaigns getting rolled out across the state on behalf of other AIDS organisations, the FAO, for example, that TASCard are promoting. Basically just trying to spread the message about sexual health, staying safe with regards to sexually transmitted infections, bloodborne viruses. While the message is stay safe, there's also a strong message about get tested, because if you get tested and you know that you're clear, that puts you in a very confident place. You can know how you're playing.
And you know what? It just sits on your mind. If you don't get tested and you don't know, you go, what's going on? And you know what? That space in your mind can be used for other things.
It can. You know, that moment when you're just about to start all your possibly most favourite kinds of activities in the world with your special person. Well, maybe they're not your special person. You may have just met them for the first time, and I guess that's the point. If everybody's going, ew, I don't know about myself or about you, it's a bit of a roadblock, really.
It is.
I mean, there are a lot of ways to be safe. We know about condoms. We've been talking about condoms for years. Safe sex practices abound, and we're happy to talk about that forever. But essentially, get tested now so that you know really how you're playing. If in the event that you didn't play safe and you had a risk event, it's not the end of the world these days. There's medication called PEP, which is post-exposure prophylaxis, meaning that if you feel like you've been exposed to HIV all of a sudden and you really want to get on top of it, you've got 72 hours to take action. You can go to the emergency department, which could be a bit of hard work, but depending on the time it is, you can also go to the sexual health service. And if the circumstances are right, if they assess you as appropriate, you can start taking a course of medication, which will actually stop you from contracting the virus. There's PrEP as well, pre-exposure prophylaxis. So if you think you might be going to be exposed to a risk event, you can take this medication in advance and it'll stop you from contracting the virus. For more information about this, please get in contact with us at TASCard.
Yeah, and you know what? You ring up. Just if you've got any questions, it's a good opportunity to learn a bit more, and you can pass it on to others.
That's it. On that risk event thing, I'm going to play this song now called "Sometimes Accidentally." It's just how it happens.
And this may be our last song.
It may be. We'll see how it brings us time. Good point, Andy. Rather than introducing, I think I might just play it. So here it comes. Sometimes accidentally, it just happens.
It does. Just go get tested when it happens.
That's right. That was the goon sack, sometimes accidentally helping us to play safe in bed.
Well, it's been a good week.
It's been a lot of fun.
I'll get to come back next week and I'll give you an update about Mardi Gras.
I'm glad to hear you'll be here next week. It means I won't be on my own.
No.
This has been Bent Air on Edge Radio 99.3 FM, Tasmania's only LGBTIQ, etc. radio show, and we love loving you guys. Thanks a lot, Andy. Have a great time in Mardi Gras. I'm so sorry I won't be there.
Have a good weekend, and have a good weekend for the rest of the viewers.
Awesome.
Love hearing local voices discussing community issues that affect you? Help Edge Radio keep it that way by becoming a supporter. To sign up, head on over to edgeradio.org.au or call 0362 267273 during office hours.